Okay, sir.
Sanjeev sir, you can start, please.
Okay. Good morning,
And
participants.
don't click on the black panel in the at the bottom. Just click above. Yeah, thanks.
Good morning, participants. I, Dr. Sanjeev S. Patil. Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear, sir.
Okay. I, Dr. Sanjeev S. Patil, on behalf of Ministry Youth Affairs and Sports, Khelo India, LNCP, and on behalf of Dr. G. Kishore sir, Principal, I welcome you all for this session. We have a special guest and a special speaker in this panel, respected Sebastian Francis, a physical educator and a multi-sports coach. He's a head of the department, Physical Education, Montfort School, St. Thomas, Mount Chennai. Sir is a experienced physical educator and a multi-sports coach with a demonstrated history of working in education and the sports industry. Skilled in grassroots sports, physical literacy, curriculum design, coach education, recreation, and multi-sports facility management, coaching and working with special need students. He has a strong professional background with MSc focused in fitness, rehabilitation, exercises, nutrition from YMCA College of Physical Education, Chennai, Bachelor of Physical Education from LNIP, Gwalior. He has been AIFFD licensed Indian Blind Football Federation certified coach, IBF certified grassroots badminton coach, Reebok International University certified fit kids trainer for children and consultant for retest ride PE outsourcing company. Sir, on behalf of this program, on behalf of ministry, on behalf of LNCP, and behalf of our principal, I welcome you for this session. Participants, today we have a wonderful and experienced, enlightened professional, Sebastian sir. Today he is going to give his opinion on this present subject, sports events in schools. So I request all participants to pay attention for this expert opinion. Now over to respected Sebastian Francis.
A very good morning to everybody. Is my audio clear?
Audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. Before we start today, I would like to say thank you to SAI, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, LNIP Trivandrum, Dr. Kishore, Dr. Usha, and all the other members in the team who have put this program together. And thank you very much for this opportunity to address the PE teachers and community coaches in India. Sports and events are a very big part of physical education teachers and sports coaches' lives. We are always going to be organizing sports events, which could be catering to a various kinds of clientele. When we start organizing sports events, we have got to keep a few things in mind. So what we're going to be doing through this session today is going to give you guidelines and ideas on how you can work on organizing your events and creating new thoughts for your events. Can we have the next slide, please? So we've been talking about this quite early in the program. The whole PE learning outcomes is based on three active parts of the PE program. One is fitness and active lifestyle. The other one is sports pursuits. And the third one is sports excellence pathways. So today's session will be focusing on sports pursuit, how we are going to be organizing competitions for students inside the school. And the excellent pathway is going to be more about outside school sports activities. Next slide, please. Now, these are the opportunities that we have in school for organizing our sports activities, physical education, physical activity, physical literacy. We have three areas there. One is our regular PE period of the day for the students. In some schools, if you're lucky, you have a PE period every day, or sometimes you're going to be getting 2 a week. And that's a physical education program where it's going to be focusing a lot on the students participating and improving their personal skills through physical education. The other part of it is before school and after school activities. Sometimes there could be organized training sessions for students, school teams, before school and after school, preparing the school teams for competitions. And the other would be where children come in early into school and they indulge in unorganized free play, which is one of the most important building blocks of social skills, where you will find children taking up leadership roles, cooperation, collaboration, being very creative with whatever they have in terms of equipment. So in a school, the options for the school is to provide the spaces for the children where they can, when they come in early, that they can keep themselves active instead of just sitting around and just chatting to each other, but creating spaces for them to be very active in school. The other option is going to be is when you get substitutions and free periods for the PE teachers. Sometimes you're always given substitution periods. And so you are, when you go in for a substitution period, and if there is a proper lesson plan is not in place from the teacher who is absent, so then you have your own option of creating what you want to do in that substitution period. So always the PE teachers are going to be looking at opportunities to take the children out of the field and then use the space available to make a proper physical activity program for them more than a PE program, because this is a free and a substituted period. Now the next slide, please. Dr. Sanjeev, can we have the next slide, please? Now, when we are organizing sports events and competitions, we have to look at a few key areas, and we call them the 4 whys or the 5 whys. Who are we organizing the event for? Why are we organizing? What is the purpose that we are organizing this event for? Where do we want to organize this? And when do we want to organize this? So when we ask these 5 whys, we are going to get a nice blueprint about exactly how we want to go ahead with this event. So whenever we are organizing any kind of event, try and make sure that you keep these 5 whys in your mind: the who, the why, the what, the where, and the when. And when you answer these questions, this should help you to guide and formulate your whole blueprint for your sports event. You have the next slide, please. Now, this is an image regarding the national vision, the Sports Authority of India and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. What is their vision on how we can get right to the top with more podium finishers? So every sports event that we do is going to build towards this. So it starts with the grassroots program, which is the broadband program there. where we have more than 1.5 million schools and 33 crore children taking part. And once the children are exposed to this activity, a few of them who are talented are going to be spotted, and we are going to start moving the talent to the next level, which is going to be participating in competitions in your own districts. And once you are in your own district, then from there you go on to your state centers, where we have centers of excellence in each state, and then to the national centers of excellence. And from there, we are looking at our dream of having more international podium finishers. So this is the whole program of how, or the pyramid, how any kind of sports events and meets are going to be contributing towards the, having more people on the podium finishing for India in international competition. We go to the next slide, please. Now here we have a pyramid, and this pyramid is again going to give you a very simple highlight of how we can move competitions from the bottom level all the way to the top. Now, when we talk about the base of the pyramid, which is the broadest part, this is where we are talking about a whole school participation. So, which means your PE programs, your sports coaching days, your international yoga day, national sports day. We have a whole lot of things that happen where the whole school participates. So this is about promoting a culture of mass participation in school. One level above that, from participation, we go into the competition aspect, is to start having intramural competitions. So in intramural competitions, most schools always have the flagship event is the sports day, which is run in most schools. Some schools have got more advanced intramural programs where they have inter-class matches. They also have inter-house competitions. So, and this also helps to start building a nice competitive program within the school to promote talent. But this requires organization. And this is very basic organization at the bottom of the level in terms of organization, because you are going to be using your resources within school. You're going to be using many of your students themselves to help you to do this program, and the support of the other people within the PE department and from other departments. The next level above in the pyramid above is the inter-school competition. When we talk about the inter-school competitions, our talent is going to be spotted during the inter-house competitions, the inter-class on sports day. We identify the talent that can represent the school at the next level, create a training program for them, prepare them for the competition, get them ready, and then send them to the inter-school competitions. So the goal here now is to create a strong team. When you go out to participate in inter-school competitions, children should be given all the training possible for them to go out there and produce their best. It's no point in just taking a team and just appearing. It is important that whatever resources that you have, prepare your kids to compete. When they go there, they should be able to put out their best, and then it's okay. The results are not going to be in their hand. But every time you step onto the field, the children should be ready to put out their best there. From there, once you win your regional competitions, you're going to move on to the zonal competitions, and then you're going to get the opportunity to participate at an even higher level, which will require a lot more preparation and training and getting your team prepared to compete at this level where it is one step away from the national level, which should be the goal for schools which are very strong about their competitive programs. During the course of this PE and coaches program, we've been talking about participation, and the philosophy should be about getting more kids involved. But there is also the element of competition when school teams go out and represent the school. And when your school is successful at zonal and interzonal levels, and then maybe going up to the nationals, there is what we call the trickle-down effect. So the trickle-down effect is that when you see that your school is going up at the higher level, and when the kids are recognized in the assemblies by the school, all the younger ones also start having this ambition, and when they watch them train, they start trying to imitate their seniors. And when they want to come up, when they come up to the classes, when they have the opportunity, it is easier for them because they have seen their seniors train and go out and win laurels for their school. And they would also want to continue this. So this creates a culture and a history in the school of sports, which comes through physical education, physical activity, and competitive sports. And of course, the next level is going to be, once you are there, you're at the national level, and hopefully you will do very well at the national level. You might win as a team. Some of you might be spotted by scouts and be invited to take part in the national team selections. And your dreams of representing India start from there. Can we have the next slide, please? Now, this is about an expanded participation opportunities within the school program. So in school, we have the sports tournaments. We do a whole lot of tournaments, which can be like the domestic competition, which is your inter-class matches. You have in-school competition, inter-school competitions, preparatory competitions, and friendly matches. Another aspect of the participation opportunities in school is the camps, where we have sports camps, holiday camps, theme camps, and summer camps, which I'm sure many of you would have planned so well this year for the summer camps. Unfortunately, with our COVID-19 situation, we might have, it has totally been dropped. I know the coaches put in a lot of effort in preparing these summer camps, and the kids also look forward to these summer camps. And every year, there's tremendous statistics that is coming out from all around India that during summer, lots and many kids are going towards sports camps and improving their skills. Forest schools, this is about nature, trying to bring students out through outdoor activities and nature activities, trying to give them an experience of outdoor living. When we are able to provide this opportunity for them to have outdoor living, it helps tremendously for the children to connect with nature. And it's very important as a part of our physical education program that we also encourage our children to connect with nature. We have our events within school, sports day, the health day, the gymnastics and sports celebrations, tours, excursions, and sports shows. These are all the events that can be conducted within your school to encourage more participation in sporting and outdoor and leisure activities. Give me the next slide, please. Inter-house and inter-class competitions. This is one of the starting blocks of sports events for most PE teachers. When you go into schools, you're always expected to be organizing. You're expected to be organizing the biggest one is always the sports day. And then you have various competitions that you can organize within school. My suggestion to most PE teachers, this is on the school basis I'm talking to, is to work on your school in 3 blocks. You can work on the elementary school. You can work on the mid-elementary school, that is from class 1 to class 5. And then you can work on middle school, that is 6, 7, and 8. And then secondary and higher secondary school, that is 9, 10, 11, and 12. When we talk about the elementary school, we can again break them down into two parts. We can have the lower elementary, which is 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and 5, which will be the upper elementary. When we talk about 1, 2, and 3, we should be looking more at giving opportunities for participation than competition. So every skill that is being taught to them in their PE classes through physical literacy, create activities where kids can come and test their skill and get a personal best score. It's not about competing against somebody else, but it's about trying to do a skill and see how good you are at it and how many you can do of it. So if I give you an example, like this is something that we always do. We have, when we do our sports day for our younger ones, we don't have a regular sports day for them. We have a circuit of 10 stations where the kids come in a batch of 10 kids or 12 kids, and they go, and there are 10 groups of them who are moving from one station to another, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 stations, there's 10 groups there, and they're going to, when the command gives for them to start, they start their activity, which could be like in station 1, you could be doing short sprints. In station 2, you could be doing a shuttle run. In station 3, you could have a target throw. In station 4, you could have a striking game. So it's up to you. You create your own circuit. And maybe when they come to station 5, you have a water break, and there is a water fountain there, water station there where the kids get a chance to drink. So once it starts, the kids go for a full circuit around this, and within an hour, they have experienced 10 different activities. So what we are talking about here is giving them a chance to participate and enjoy doing the activities. When we come to class 4 and 5, where the kids have got a foundation in physical literacy, in gymnastics, and in athletics, because this is what we are focusing on, running, jumping, and throwing, and all these skills in class 1, 2, and 3. So once they come in here, they can be introduced to a proper athletic meet with shorter distances, modified equipment, and slowly prepare them for the next level when they go to class 6, 7, and 8. When they go to class 6, 7, and 8, the kids have already had a foundation from class 1 to 5 with physical literacy, learning sports, invasion sports, whether team sports, net sports, striking sports. So you can start putting them into competitions, which could be inter-class, it could be inter-house, and of course the sports day. And at high school, we bring all this together and we focus very strongly on a competitive program, but also try and make sure that we have maximum participation. You have the next slide, please. Now, here we have a whole list of ideas that can be used for primary children's sports days. But as I was telling you earlier, from my earlier slide, my request to most PE teachers and sports coaches is to look at the opportunity of creating what I told you about, the circuit-based sports days. And there are so much ideas. If you go into Google, you look into Google, you can get some fantastic ideas. It requires a little more organization. It's easier to run sports days with just single challenges and things like that. But when you have a circuit-based sports event day, you need to find your resources, put them into place, because you're going to have 10 stations. You're going to have different groups coming through the day. It's about organization. But trust me, your children will have the most fantastic day, and they will look forward to this any day. So whenever you're doing your primary children's sports day, try not to go with what is already existing there. As some of our speakers earlier told us, like, we have got to be as creative as possible with whatever resources that we have in our schools and use them. The next slide, please. Now, middle school is where our children have reached adolescence. They are serious. They've got a good set of physical literacy skills. They understand their sports. And now we have opportunities to start preparing them to train to compete at the higher level. So when we start doing our inter-school, intramural events in school, these are all preparations to take these children to the next level of training to compete at a higher level. So sports day again is going to be a proper sports day for these children here. But this is one of the things that I have always done in my PE programs wherever I've been. Schools always have a single one-day sports day. And in the one-day sports day, if you have about 1,000 children in your school, or even if you just have about 1,000 kids, you always have an under 18, under 16, under 14, under 12. And most of the time what happens is you will find that there are a couple of children who are dominating all the events. My request to all of you would be to try and encourage kids to participate more in events, to reduce the number of events that a person can participate. And I would basically say just one event per person, one event. You choose any one individual event. And of course, the relays, you can take part as a team. And the goal should be to get as many people as possible to be participating on sports day. It should be that we should try and get the whole school in. If you're only going to do a middle school event, which is only going to be 6, 7, and 8, you should be able to find ways of making sure that every child in your school is able to come out onto that field that day and perform something. Because generally on sports day in most schools, what happens is, as I said earlier, there are a few people who are active and the rest are all spectators. But we should try and change this and bring in more participants and less spectators. Can we have the next slide, please? The high school events. This is where the children are very serious about their competition. And even here, you can follow the same principle of what I said about maximum participation. And it works. Trust me, it works. You get more people involved when you allow, you sort of put a cap on how many events the person can take part. It's a call that you have to make. Sometimes schools say like, oh, we cannot work with just giving them only one event. I said, it's your call. You know, you take that call and you decide what you are comfortable with. If you want to make it 2 events plus relay, that's fine. It's up to you. But again, follow the principle of maximum participation on sports day, where more children can be highlighted inside your school. Some people always tell me we use our sports day to select our athletes. I don't agree with that, because as PE teachers in school, when you are observing your students, in sessions and everything, you are able to spot and identify talent. And it is your role as a PE teacher that moment you spot and identify talent who are good in different areas, you put them into your database and you say, okay, when I'm going to start my football team, I don't need to have, or my track team, I know that these are a few people that I've been watching and who are going to be able to perform well at the school level. So invite these people and anybody else that you spot. But the sports day does not have to be, the winners of the sports day should not be the ones who are going to go on to represent the school. It can be just one day that is going off for an athlete and he may not perform well that day. It doesn't mean that he's not good enough. It's a matter of bringing them into training, train them, watch them, and then you know who are your best athletes there. Again, important is to try and create a culture of inter-class and inter-house matches at high school level, because this will help to motivate the kids to be more and more physically active in school, because high school students like to compete. And one of the areas that I have found was tremendously successful for me was to create small mini tournaments during recess, as the short break, and at lunch break. And I used to set up, for example, in my basketball court, I used to set up a 3 versus 3 tournament. And I used to encourage the kids, especially the high schoolers, that is class 8 to 12, to form their own teams. But I used to also put a cap on the school team players. Because if I allow them to form the team, 4 of the best players in the school team would join together and they'll form a team. So I used to say, like, if you're going to form a team, somebody who's played for the school team last year, you can have only 1 player from the school team in 1 team. So he's got to go and find another 3 more players to play in his team and start supporting their growth and development. And this used to happen during break time. I just create a schedule. I don't supervise it. It's up to them. They play their matches. They come back and give me the results. It's student-led and student-organized activities. But it's a very active program that promotes the competitive culture amongst the high school students. Another one of the very important, I don't know how many of you have heard of the color run. This is about promoting running as such. That is, when I say running, we're talking about distance running. And this is a great event to have for your high schoolers. I mean, we know when Holi comes around, we have color everywhere around us, the dancing and everything. So in the color run, what happens is we can always use the color run as a fundraiser for any of the charity that you want to support in school, or to raise funds for your own program itself. The kids sign up, they pay an entry fee for the run. So it's a 5-kilometer run. And at every kilometer, they will be put with colors. The holy colors will be thrown on them. So by the time they finish the 5 kilometers of the run and they come back, they will have a whole lot of color on their t-shirts and everything. So this is another program that you can think of at doing at your schools. Can you have the next slide, please? The school sports day. Now here again, we're talking about the what, the who, the why, and the where. So sports day can be one day, which is the easiest thing to do. You just have one sports day and you have junior, or you have sub-junior, junior, intermediate, senior, and super senior, where only a few students are going to take part, and some parents are there, and they are, so it's a limited exhibition of your school's physical education program. The other option is to have a week-long program, if your school is able to permit that, and then do what I was telling you earlier about elementary school program, a middle school program, and a high school program. 3 separate days where only each division is highlighted. When not possible within the week, you could also think of using it in different terms, because the high schoolers have always got the issue of, as soon as September, October, November comes around, class 11 and 12 are starting to focus on their board exams. After December, it is impossible to get them. So you could always have the high school sports day for class 8 to 12 during the first term itself, and then you can look at having the sports day for the middle school in the second term, and then you can look at having the elementary sports day somewhere in the third term when the weather is great all over India. So it's about how you find those combinations which will work for you. But these are the ideas that we are trying to put into you, where you can build on from. If you have the next slide, please. The Fit India School Week. This is a countrywide program that happens in November and December, where the whole program is about mass participation with whatever activities that you are doing in school, but creating a week-long focus on being fit and being active for life. So you're going to be doing this through a whole range of activities in whatever which is very much popular in your school. The next slide, please. Now, when we talk about the Fit India Week, we have a whole week that is starting from Monday all the way up to Saturday. So whenever we start these Fit India Weeks, in school, the first place would be our morning assembly. When we have this morning assembly, we need to have the 6 days of this consistent message going out to the whole school community about the importance of staying fit, being physically active. How do we do this during the assembly? We could have mass displays during the assembly if you have space to do that. You can have guest lecturers who are coming in. You could have elite athletes and sportsmen who come in and talk to your students about their experience and how being fit and being physically active has helped them in their life. And also bringing in medical personnel who can talk to the students and encourage them how physical activity will keep them healthy for life. We also have the Kalo India app fitness assessments that will be happening. So you have a whole range of fitness assessments on the Kalo India app. You can get the kids totally involved in that, finding out their best scores and working on improving their scores. We also have the essay writing. You can have poetry sessions for the students, fitness competitions. I mean, for the high school students, nothing like having a triathlon inside your school. When I say a triathlon, I don't mean cycling, swimming, and running. You can have a triathlon in your school doing push-ups. You can have a triathlon doing sit-ups. You can have a triathlon them doing just endurance run. Work different kinds of activities where the kids can challenge each other to see who is the fittest person in school as an all-round athlete. Different ways of doing it. If you have access, you can also bring in the cycling element into it. You can bring in the swimming element into it. But if you don't, just work around creating what you can do with the resources that you have. And very important is to also include the parent community. If we can bring in our parents into the program and get them to start thinking about fitness through the Fit India School Week and also as a part of our regular school PE program, that makes a bigger supporting base for us. So when parents are involved, automatically the children also get involved. So try and make it in your school to have a kind of a family culture. One of the things that I've seen in one of the schools that I used to visit regularly was they used to have what is called this morning run. And the morning run used to happen twice a week. So when parents come to the school to drop the kids, the school used to start at 8:30. The morning run used to start at 7:30. From 7:30 to 8 o'clock, the run is open. The PE department, on rotation basis, there's other teachers and volunteers from the parent community. They are there at the start. So when the parents or whoever's taking part in the run, they come in and they start running on the school track or grounds or whatever. There is a lap or it's like you lay out a circuit or a one round or whatever like you have. And for every round that they complete, they are given a token. So if they run, walk, whatever it is, as a family, or just the kids come and do it by themselves, they collect their tokens for the full session. When they finish, the teacher counts. They come and hand over their tokens. The teacher counts it and says, "Okay, Sebastian, you did 10 rounds today," and then next to my name, on Friday, this 13th of June, Sebastian did 10 rounds. So this program runs for 3 months. At the end of it, we look at who has done the best and who has improved, and we give them awards. So this is where we are bringing the school community, the students. Nothing, it is non-competitive. It is just about improving your fitness. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. International Yoga Day. This is our gift to the world, yoga. And this should also be our gift to our children, which should be highlighted throughout their careers in school. As long as they are in school, yoga should be a very, very big part of their day. When I was teaching in the Middle East, I had this situation when I started very early. And I used to use the Surya Namaskar as my warm-up for the for the PE classes. So I had the kids were doing it, and then one day I had a parent who came up to me and said, you know, you are teaching the children something about Hindu religious activities. I said, well, what is it I'm teaching about Hindu religious activities? You're asking them to do the Surya Namaskar. I said, yes, it's a yogic activity, but it has nothing to do with religion. It's about how we are using a yogic activity to start as a warm-up activity for our students. No, you cannot use this. I said, fine. I mean, we will have a discussion, and I had a discussion with my principal, and I said, okay. The next time when we had a session, I said, now this is not. I'm not going to call this the Surya Namaskar. This is the good morning exercise. Does anybody have any objection to it? And everybody kept quiet. So we are always going to find people who are always going to look at yoga and say that this is a religious thing. But personally, from my perspective, yoga is non-religious. Yoga is about improving your own body, and this is our gift, and this is our tradition, this is our culture. And we should make sure that we are promoting this in all our schools and making our children understand the importance of yoga and how yoga can help them in their lives. And this is a challenge for us countrywide, because over the years, people in the West have discovered yoga and they are using it. And us, the nation that was the founding place of yoga, are slowly beginning to lose. We have lost it, and we are now trying to recover it. And it's great that we have this International Yoga Day that highlights and brings back focus to yoga. So when we have the International Yoga Day, it should not be just that on that one day we are doing yoga and it stops, but yoga should be an integral part of the PE program, starting from elementary school and going all the way to high school. So find ways of how you can slide yoga into your PE program and making it a part of your curriculum. Can we have the next slide, please? Outside school competitions. We have a whole lot of competitions when we talk about it. We have one-off tournaments that we go to. There are leagues that we go to. So it all comes down to the school's resources and which of the tournaments that you want to be taking part in. We should never forget, as PE teachers in schools, that we are a part of a school education system. So sometimes when the management says that we are doing too many tournaments, our kids are out of class and they're missing class, we have to find this balance between how we are going to be balancing out the students' academics and their sporting activities. As I always say, in school, you are first a student and second an athlete. Until and unless you are in a sports school, which is exclusively meant for elite athletes, then yes, you are first an athlete and then a student. But 98% of our children are all students. So we should never forget that they are first students and they are second athletes. Now, when we do our preparation for our school teams, it's very important to make sure that we are always preparing and choosing our best to compete and represent the school. When we are fair with our selections and we make sure that the students that we are sending out are the best that we have, your teams are going to be doing well. And it's also very important to have this culture of having tryouts. It's not about, in some schools I find, this used to happen with one of the schools that I went to very early in, and they never had a PE program. So when I took over, it is very interesting because I was the first day in school, and then one of the seniors came up to me, the high school students, and he came and gave me a list. And he said, sir, I'm the captain of the cricket team, and we have a tournament coming up. and this is the list of the players, and our team is ready. Like, so I said, okay, great. Who made you the captain of the cricket team? I said. He said, no, sir, it's our, this is how we do it here in St. Mary's. Like, this is, I was a senior last year, so I'm the captain. I said, fine. He said, now I have taken over as your PE teacher, and there's big changes here. I said, I will decide who is the captain. I will decide who is in the team. And the team is going to be having an open tryouts, and I'm going to invite players to come out and try. And he was like, no, sir, we already have our players from the last year. I said, last year was last year. This year is a new year. And there are so many other people like you who came out and tried last, maybe who were not given a chance to be in the team. But this year, I want to look around and see what is the best talent that we have. Then he said, okay, sir, which class? I said, we're starting from 8th standard. So we never have 8th standard in the high school team, the senior team. I said, why? Oh, no, they will get injured if they play with us. I said, we will have a look at that. We will see if they are able to face your fast bowlers, whatever it is. And when we had the tryouts, I had one of the 8th standard kids who came out to try. And it was like, for them, it was a shock for the senior. And this kid was not even known to anybody in the school. But his father was already training him outside. And he was playing at a high level. And when his turn came to bat, the best fast bowlers were having a real go at him, and he was thrashing them all over the ground. And he walked into my team. And later on, he went on to play for the UAE under 16 and the under 18. But he got his first job. He was one of the first players in the school as an 8th grader to make it to the high school team. So it's when we have our tryouts and trials for the school team, we should be looking for talent and giving opportunities for all our children to be successful in those tryouts. And also the very important part of tryouts is when kids who fail to make the cut, they do not make the team, they come out there and they try. Try to soften the impact of them not making the team. And sometimes the kids come back, and I always tell the kids, come and ask me why I did not make the team. So I tell them, this is the areas that you are not making the team. And I give them a full objective analysis about what went wrong for them and why they did not make the team. And I want you to go and improve on this and come back. And they're very happy. They say, okay, thank you, coach. I'll go and improve on it and come back. So always, whenever you have your trials, make sure that your successful players and the ones who do not make the team have got your equal attention, and you have motivated both the groups, the ones that have been selected and the ones who have not been selected, to come back next year and try again for the team. Can we have the next slide, please? This is the formalities for starting and ending a sports event. I have my own opinion on this. We have mostly whenever we have a sports day, I find that many schools, we spend most of our time and energy on the opening ceremony. We have dances, we have march past. 80% of our time is spent on preparing for that 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the opening. And the rest of them are the events. We have to find a balance between these two things. How can we make sure that we highlight our own physical education program in our school? What are we doing in our school? Do we have a gymnastics program? Do we have a martial arts program? Do we have a yoga program, which can also be trained during the PE classes, and then they can be highlighted instead of bringing them out, and especially these mass drills that we have. Most PE teachers would agree with me, I think, that mass PE drills takes away all the energy from you. It's not easy to have a mass drill for about 500 to 600 students. And when the class teachers are also called in to come and support the event, the students, I can guarantee you, do not enjoy mass drills. We force them into it, and they are just performing there. The first row of students are the ones that are going to be highlighted. They're going to be visible on the camera and everything. The ones who are standing behind them are all going to be left out in this. try and find balances and how we can take this into a new direction. We're going to have our, whenever we do our sports days, like what I said earlier, if we break them up into those smaller modules of elementary, middle, and high school, we can have smaller opening ceremonies and make sure that 80% of our time is devoted towards the participation of our children. Here, the next slide, please. So now we are coming down to the actual crux of our sports events. How do we go about organizing a sports event? When we're planning a sports event, we have a few areas that we have to look at. One is, first thing is our planning, then we have our budgeting, then we have sponsors, marketing, media management, operations, experts, and infrastructure. Some of these things might be relevant to you at school sports level, inside your own school, but now what we've been talking about is a slightly larger scale, and we will expand on this now. The next slide, please. It's very important that we set a date for our event. Once we start setting the date, and then we can start planning back from there. It's always what we call backward design. We plan the event, and then we go back from there and create all the elements that are needed for a successful event. We need to start thinking of the timetable from where we are going to start our preparation. When do we start our selections? When do we start training for our opening ceremony? Who are the teachers who are going to be supporting? Creating the roles for everybody, the equipment that we need. And then, of course, on the operations day of the event, thinking about food and beverage and the whole planning that goes into the day of the event. Next slide, please. Budgeting and financing the event. It's very important to have a budget in mind. Once you have a budget in mind, then we know how to go about the event. When we talk about a school sports, we're talking about medals and things like that. But when we talk about something at a higher level, we have what is called a prize money. Prize money is very important at very high level events. When you have prize money, it attracts the best talent or the best athletes to come and perform at your event. Venue cost is very important to try and find a venue that is ideal for your event, and it's going to be also within your budget. Make sure that these two things match. Equipment, try to make sure that you have enough equipment within your own organization and to limit the purchase of new equipment and supplies. Personnel, facility setup. Personnel is the people who are going to be involved with you in the complete running of the event. We will be looking at that when we come into operations. And the other areas that we have to budget and create the finances for the facility cleanup, the setting up of the facility, transportation, beverages, food and hydration, media publicity, and merchandise if you are going to be having any kind of merchandise at your event. Next slide, please. The key to having a budget and trying to reduce the cost for yourself or for your school is to find sponsors. Sponsors always want you to come up with a business plan which gives them a clear cost-benefit analysis for each sponsor. So when you go and approach somebody, you should be able to tell the sponsor that this is my event, this is how it's going to be run. I'm going to be having 5,000 people participating in this event. You're going to be coming to this venue that is participants, spectators. We're going to be running it from this time to this time. This is going to be covered in all the media. We can bring you in as a title sponsor. So if you come in as a title sponsor, the event, the whole name of the event could be given to the sponsor. So for example, if you are having a football tournament and somebody you want as a title sponsor, and he's willing to give you X amount, and you can give him the title. So you can say it could be the Reliance Cup, like what Reliance does now. So Reliance puts in the major money into the ISL program and the grassroots program. So it is called the Reliance Foundation Cup. Like same way, you can have co-sponsors. You can bring in food and beverage sponsors. You can bring in equipment sponsors. So there are different ways of bringing in sponsors and giving them a cost-benefit analysis according to whatever cost that they're going to put in. This is the benefit that you will get. You can also have sponsors who are not going to be paying you in monetary terms, but who are also going to be supporting you with products of whatever they have. And that is one of the easier ways to bring in quality sponsors into your event, because most sponsors would be hesitant to come up with cash until unless it is really a big event. But when you talk about product related stuff, so like for example, you're having an event and you want a person to sponsor the water. So you go up to a water company and you tell him, like, on my banners everywhere, I'm going to give you a space that you are the official water supplier for the event. So it doesn't cost him, it's not money. So he's happy to give you the amount of water that you require. Same way, if you go and find a drink sponsor, if you go to Gatorade and tell them that we want a hydration partner, so you come in as a hydration partner for you. So try and identify potential sponsors, not just one individual. If you're able to get one individual, you are very lucky, which is very rare. But most of the time, you would be required to look for multiple sponsors. Okay, the next slide, please. Marketing the event. Today's world, it's all about marketing. And the most important media of marketing today is our social media. The print and radio and advertising comes in later, but social media is the place where you gotta be. If you don't beat the drum about your event, very few people are going to know about your event. It's very important that when you organize an event, that you beat the drum really hard and loud and make sure that everybody around you knows that you are doing this event. So marketing an event is very important for the success of an event. The next slide, please. Media management. If you're having a large scale event, it's very important that you have the right people to handle your media. And when you bring in a media company to handle your media management, they have access to all sorts of media around the country. You have to pay for their services, but they will make sure that your event is reached out to the maximum possible. So a media management company can always help you with your media. The next slide, please. Personnel management. This is the whole crux of the event. And this comes down to exactly how are you going to identify the people who are going to be involved in running of your event. From your day, on the day of the event, the operations team, the pre-event, the marketing team, the budgeting, the finance team, your media team, everybody's roles have to be very, very clearly identified. Once you've identified everyone's roles, you should give them the full freedom to work within their own departments. And you as the organizing head, your role comes down to supervising and making sure that you're connecting with everybody. You don't have to micromanage them, but they've got to be reporting back to you as we get closer to the dates, and you're giving them deadlines and say, 1 week before, we need to make sure that everything is closed. We have got everything in place. Now we are starting to looking at the actual execution of the event. When we come down to the execution of the event, it is going to be your people on the ground who are responsible for the whole execution of the event. So make sure those teams are very well briefed. You find the right people for the right roles. It's very important to find the right people for the right roles. And always make sure that they know the chain of command, where they should go and approach when they have an issue in their own area. So those chain of command should be very clear to everybody in the team. It's also important that when we are bringing in a large event and hiring people, that you compensate them. Make sure that you are paying market rates when you compensate people for their services. If you're lucky to get volunteers and interns, there's nothing like that. But also make sure when the event is over to give them a kind of reward in the form of a recognition, as a small trophy or a plaque or a personal certificate or a personal thank you letter thanking them for their contribution to the event. The next slide, please. The pre, during, and the post event. What we were talking about now is all about the pre and during the event. Now, we can make the plans for everything, and we are sure that we've got all our plans set. Event is set, everything is ready, but we have something called Murphy's Law, so something can always go wrong. So we should also develop contingency plans in terms of safety. Safety is paramount. We had Dr. Mukherjee speaking the other day about the importance of first aid, fitness, and safety in PE and everything. But during events, your biggest priority should be the safety of all who are involved in the event. Your own personnel who are running the show, your participants, your spectators. Make sure that you have proper emergency plans for fire, for evacuation of the venue, and in case of bad weather, when you have rain, it's important that you have a plan B if you're having an outdoor event. Now, one of the most important things I would like to bring to everybody's attention here is about thunder and lightning. Whenever we have rain, it is fine. Rain is okay. But the moment you hear thunder, you have to go onto a red alert. If you have people outside in a completely outdoor setting, in an open area. The first sign of thunder, be prepared to stop everything when you see the first, even the smallest streak of lightning. Because try to count, see, thunder always starts with a little bit of a flash and then a sound. So try and count 1, 2, 3, and then you'll know how close that thunder and lightning is. And if by any time the rain shower is extremely heavy and you can see lightning or you can hear thunder, evacuate everybody from the ground. There should be nobody on the field whenever there is a thunderstorm happening, because a thunder strike will go through any object that is standing in an open area. So, I mean, we have never been told this when we were young. We have all played through rain, thunder, and lightning. Fortunately, it has never happened. But at most events, you will realize at international events, thunder and lightning, all activity ceases. So make sure that you have your contingency plans for safety. And also, when you're having large-scale events involving fans and spectators, the possibility of violence between fans is also there. So security personnel are also a very key part of events. Now, post-event, this is where the real challenge comes for any organization team. Because once the event is over, 80% of the people will disappear. And when the cleanup starts and the shutting down process starts, you will find very, very few people around to help you to close post-event. So make sure that your teams are told well in advance that they have to be available for the post-event close down and cleanup. And they should not leave the venue until they've been cleared by the supervisors to leave. Can we have the next slide, please? This is very important part of any event today. Whenever we are using, whenever we do an event, when we look back, whatever event it is, you will find the amount of waste that is there. I don't know how many of you remember from the last World Cup, when Japan was there in the Football World Cup. At every venue that the Japanese team played, after the match got over, the Japanese fans stayed back in the stadium. They bought their own bags, garbage bags, and they helped clean up their own area where they were cheering from and also the other areas. So cleanliness and tidying up a place after an event should be a culture that is being taught through the whole school. This helps our children to also get the message of the Swachh Bharat program. When we start doing something like this in our school programs, it becomes a part of their children's lives that they realize whatever event that we are doing, we should make sure that we clean up. And again, we have to focus on how we can minimize our environmental impact whenever we do a large scale event. And we have to go to the whole cycle of the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Let us try and reduce making new kinds of things, minimizing, make sure that we, for example, when we are having water, let's not try to use cups or also have water in bottles distributed. Make sure that every participant who comes to the event carries their own water bottle, and that water fountains are available, or water dispensers are available, or taps are available where they can go and fill up in their own bottles. If we have 1,000 people coming to an event and we have people coming with their own water bottles and filling up, we won't have a single glass or a tumbler to pick up after the event is over. Same way, whatever the events that we are using, for whatever the props that we are using for the event, we should look at how we can reuse and recycle these things. So when we have flexes that we are making, let's find a way of turning those flexes into yoga mats. A lot of events you go, you see that there are so much of branding everywhere. Branding is a very important part of any event. But once the event is over, you find the people, the marketing and the media team will remove those flex, they will just dump them. But if you walk around, you can collect at least about 100 yoga mats that can be created for your class. Instead of going and buying a yoga mat, cut them into the same size, 2 feet by 4, and you have a yoga mat which has been recycled. So try and make sure that your event is an eco-friendly sports event. The next slide, please. Taking care of teams. Whenever we are organizing a large-scale event or even a small-scale event, if you're organizing an inter-school competition in your own school, we have the players, the coaches, the support staff, and the organizer. Let's look at each of them individually now. The next slide, please. When we have guests coming in, we are welcoming them into our home. So it is important that we make sure that we make them feel welcome and make them feel at home. How do we do that? We make sure that their rooms are ready for them whenever they come in. They have clean restrooms and toilets to use. The practice grounds are available for them. And their practice schedules are posted well in advance. So if you have 10 teams coming and you have one match venue and then you have other practice venues, make sure that the teams know that this is your practice schedules. Give it to them and tell them that you have to stick to the practice schedules. First aid and safety, transportation, and also clean and secure locker rooms. Because locker rooms are very important. When kids come in today, you find, even if you don't have a locker room, you can give them a classroom space with a lock given to them and say, hey, this is a space where you can leave all your personal belongings. This is your personal lock that we are giving to you, a coach. You can put all your stuff in there, lock the door up. When you are done, please hand over the lock and key to us. So this is providing your teams with the maximum support when they come for an event to you. The next slide, please. So there we are. We summarize the whole thing. It's very important to fix the date for your event. Once you fix your date, then your backward planning starts. and then you start breaking them down into smaller units. What has to be finished before the actual date of the event? You want most things to be in place 1 week before the event. If you give it 1 week before the event to make sure that all your departments are ready to organize, then you have a buffer of a few days in case that you have some kind of issues with your event. Planning is the key. Plan well in advance, put it down on pen and paper, and make sure that every person in your team, keeping everybody in the loop is important, that your whole team is in the loop, that everyone knows their roles, and every person's individual contribution is valued. Make sure that they all understand. As a team, we achieve more. As we say, when we say team, together each achieves more. That's the full definition of team. So make everybody believe in the spirit of the team. And whenever we organize our school events within our schools, always let's look at a fun element. We want the kids to have competition, but we also want the kids to have a great time, having fun and enjoying this event. I think we have reached the end of our slides. Once again, a very big thank you to Sai, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Dr. Kishore, Dr. Usha Nair, and to everybody on the panel for giving me this opportunity to address the PE teachers and community coaches around the country. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
So, a very, very impressive presentation, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, few questions are there. Can you please answer this question?
Yes, sure.
Sir, in this panel, Dr. Sanjay Prajapati is there, so he will start asking this questions. Over to Sanjay Prajapati, sir.
So you have to unmute. Your voice is not clear, Sanjay. We can't hear you.
Hello. 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 Am I audible? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sir, first of all, the session was very wonderful. It is very
Thank
fun
you.
for the
Thank you.
participants. So we have some question from the participants. The first question is, how PE teacher can develop spiritual ability in students?
Now, when we talk about spirituality, spirituality has got a religious context. It depends on where you come. What is your own spiritual background? But what we can always talk to our students about is using your body, your own personal body, as the vehicle to promote your spirituality. So if you are looking at your body as a spiritual vehicle, keeping it fit, keeping it clean, keeping it healthy, that is the way you first try to promote your spirituality. And then you bring in your spirituality that comes in from your own religious perspective. At the end of the day, all our religions teach us only one thing. It's about tolerance, respect for humanity. So at the end of the day, we are one. We are all human. That is our most important gift on planet Earth. We are all human. And we are human, and we use this body, this gift that is given to us by God, to promote our spiritual values.
Yeah, thank you, sir. In order to add that one, if the student come to the ground, just we have to make them understand they have to respect to the ground, they have to respect to the equipment, they have to respect to the teachers. That I think that is the spirituality.
Yes, respect for everything.
Yeah.
When we talk about respect, it is about respect for the environment.
Yeah.
It is the whole environment that we are. Our environment is not just only about us. It is about our family, our friends, our teachers, our communities, our neighbors, everything. The whole thing around us, this is what is our environment. When we respect our environment, we respect every single living and non-living thing inside that environment.
Yeah, I think participants have got the answer. The next question, sir, what is the difference between yoga and fitness?
Okay. Yoga is about your individual journey through an activity that brings about a spiritual awakening inside you. When we talk about yoga, we are talking about pranayama, we are talking about the asanas, we are talking about each and every individual activity in yoga, helping you to attain a higher level of thinking. So we are promoting a higher level of thinking. But when we talk about fitness, we are talking about making our heart stronger, making our physical body stronger, but it is not going to be pushing us to a higher level of thinking like how yoga and the practice of yogic activities will help us to think in a different level.
Yeah, thank you. So now the next question, I think this is not a question. This is they are asking suggestion. So the best way to convince sportsmanship.
Sorry, come again. I didn't get that.
The best way to convince sponsorship for student.
Yeah, this is a very good question to ask, because now what happens with sponsors now, it all comes down to how you make the approach to sponsors. And this is something I've always mentioned. I'm going to give you an example now. I was one of the first athletes or the physical education teachers in Dubai to have a full-fledged apparel contract with Reebok. And this happened to me in 1993. So I was working with Reebok, and then I told them, like, hey, listen, and it used to, because we always talk about presenting yourself well to your students when you go for your classes. So I always took pride in how I presented myself. So I was having a discussion with the marketing team of Reebok, and we spoke about sponsoring physical education teachers. So they came up with a contract, and I was the first one to have it from the Indian teachers. And it basically gave me 20,000 dirhams worth of Reebok products, 20,000 dirhams worth of Reebok products per year. And my contract with them was, I have to wear only Reebok to school. Everything in school, all my inter-class competitions, inter-house competitions, the branding everywhere was Reebok. It was a great win-win situation. I got the best clothes in the market possible, from apparel to shoes to bags to caps. Everything I got from Reebok. For them, it did not cost anything. There was no cash involved here. It was only product. And they got a maximum mileage every day of 2,000 students plus another 2,000 parents who were watching this branding of Reebok every time they walked inside the school. So it is about what is the value your sponsor is going to get from being associated with your event or with you as an individual. So make sure that your sponsor has value. Once you are able to show the sponsor that you can get this value from being a part of my event, they will come in. It's not going to be easy. It's always difficult. The easier way is to find event management companies who have access to sponsors, bring them in. But of course, when you bring in an event management company, then you have to share the percentage with the event management company. So, but they can always open up doors for you which are not available to the average person.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, we'll take one more question. How to encourage school administration to support sports activity and competition? How we can encourage the sports administration?
Yeah, the school administration now, this is what I'm going to go back to what Professor Saroj said. As PE teachers, we have to be innovative. We have to be advocates. We have to be the voice for what we want. And we have to be strong, and we have to be demanding. Until unless we are able to do this, it's not going to be easy. I mean, every school management is going to look, till today, they have looked at PE as a part of an extracurricular part of the school. But as a PE teacher, if you are able to convince the school through your work, this is through your work, that how important what you are doing is, and make them understand the value that you are going to add to the school. It's about value addition. When I do this event, I'm going to be adding the value to our parent community, to our school, and the school also, if you're a private school, a school is also well known through its sports activities.
More and more students are going to be coming today to schools that are offering better extracurricular activities. Students who want to go for knowledge, there are many schools that are available, but there are very few schools that are providing quality, holistic, all-round education. So this is what you got to sell to your school management. I am going to be helping you to promote a holistic, all-round education in school. Through having these sports and events, I need this budget.
Thank you, sir, for a valuable answer. Now over to Sanjeev S. Patil, sir.
Sanjeev sir, can I just ask one question? Your voice is, you have to unmute, sir. Sanjeev sir, you have to unmute.
Sir, please.
Hello. Yeah. So the question is, this is from Parmet. He's basically saying that typically in schools you have the annual sports day. That is where the focus is. Now, how do you convince the school committee that there should be the importance of weekly or monthly sporting events? So basically, he's saying that the sporting event should be there. He also knows that it should be there on a periodic basis. But how do you convince? So that's the question.
What was the gentleman's name, sir?
Mr. Pramet Logaonkar.
Mr. Pramet, thank you for bringing up that question. This is, as I keep saying, in the PE department over the years, the way we have functioned in schools, we have let ourselves down. We have not stood up to the expectations of school managements who have always looked at us as a secondary person in the school, mostly the so-called, what I say, the policeman of the school. This is what they want from the PE teachers, maintain the discipline. And I've been very blessed to work with some excellent principals who have always said that the role of the PE teacher is as important as any other teacher in my school. And you are not the disciplined person. I am the disciplined person. Any problem with discipline, it's my job. Your job is to make sure that you focus on delivering a quality physical education program. Now, how do we go about addressing this question about what you asked? How do you convince the management that it is important? Again, what I'm going to come up and tell you is find data and facts that are relevant to how participation in school sports events, participation in intramural events helps to build the culture of the school, creating an athletic culture in a school, which is not just a short-term thing. You're talking about creating a long-term culture in schools. I can give you a very good example from our neighbors just down south in Sri Lanka. There are two schools in Sri Lanka, which are very famous is boarding schools going back very early. One is St. Thomas and the other one is Royal. Now, even today, I was there 1 year, I was lucky to watch that. The cricket match between St. Thomas and Royal, when they play, they have a test match crowd to watch that game. Because this rivalry and this culture of this competition goes back to over 100 years in Sri Lanka. In Colombo, this is the most sought after event, the match between Royal and St. Thomas. Whether it is cricket or rugby, every old student who's 70, 80, they turn up still to cheer that school team of theirs. So this is about creating a legacy in your school. It's about creating a culture that has to be sustained for years. I created, when I walked into St. Mary's in Dubai, a school that never had a culture of sports. But today, St. Mary's, I created a brand for them. They're called the Saints, S-A-I-N-T-Z. If you look them up on Facebook, they are one of the strongest basketball teams in Dubai in inter-school competitions. But it started, the journey took me about 5 years before I won the first competition. But after they won the first competition, it was a factory line producing players because it became a part of the school culture. So what you need to do is to make sure that you understand, you make it understood to the school management, this is not just about a competition. It's about creating a culture in school of participation in competitions and creating a school brand.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I think that actually answers
Yeah.
the question. Over to you, Sanjeev, sir.
So in this panel, respected Professor B.C. Kapri sir is there. I request he like to add anything for this presentations.
No, it was beautiful presentation. I thank Sebastian, my rather I would say just 1 year junior, but he happens to be a very good friend, good footballer, and he has answered each and every question very nicely. And he is tricky person because he knows how to answer and how to influence the people. He is such a nice person. He has a lot of experience doing work in different kinds of schools and different kinds of states, and he knows how to build up a good school. So this is from my side, I thank him. I was listening throughout. I have never missed even a single word from him. Thank you very much, Sebastian. And thanks you people also, because you people has given me chance to be here and listen such a nice person. And all of you are taking so much interest. Definitely it is going to develop physical education in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kapri.
Thank you.
A concluding part. Respected sir, your presentation was so informative and impressive. You have influenced and impacted our participants with your strong voice. We will look forward in future also for your valuable expert opinion on behalf of Ministry Youth Affairs and Sports, LNCPE, and on behalf of our respected Principal Dr. G. Kishore sir, I thank you for your expert opinion on this occasion, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Jai Hind.
Okay. Just a request to everyone who is all the participants. So we have a very interesting session at 12:30 today. So meet the Sinks. These are the 5 sisters who have made a splash in women's basketball. So please log in. I mean, you can log in through the badge 2 ID at maybe 5 minutes before 12:30 or 10 minutes before 12:30. Please log in and they are going to share their story today. So 12:30 to 1:30 today we have storytelling by these 5 sisters. So please join us that time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.